Welcome back to another GP, and we're counting down the GPs until the new season. But we're back with another one, and it's the Formula One Easter event. So, hope plenty of you get a lot of chocolate under your belt. But qualifying comes in the form of USA and Miami with a hint of rain, Singapore with a hint of rain. We're going to be doing purple rain if it's in the dark. We've got Australia and Brazil to round it off. No fastest lap required because Austria is opening and final round. And we're using George Russell, Carlos Sainz as the formidable pair, both 20%. Max setup, max drivers. So we're certainly going to be trying for better than we got last week. Hopefully, we're going to get inside the top 10 and put a smile back on the face. But let's get into race number 1. It is Miami. Let's go. Equal team score matchup for the first race in Miami. And let's see what we're going to get in terms of qualifying. It's a dry qualifying. But where will we be in the wet? Will we get a wet race or will it be just dry? Where do we start? P1 and 4. And we do have some potential rain coming in. So we're going to go on to dead fast on our first driver. Do we go hex or do we not? I think I'm going to just chuck a hex on and see what happens. If I can find it. We're going to hope for some rain here. And we're going to go softs as well. So splitting the strategy because why not? Let's do something different. Looks like a potential bot as well. Rain in 1 minute and 55 seconds. So P2 will get a better start, but because it's a bot, it doesn't launch, and that puts George Russell and Carlos Sainz into P1 and P2. We're going to boost these for a good half a lap, 3/4 of a lap, and then we will be into the pits. We need to manage, because it's only 1 minute and 34 until the rain comes in. As we carry on, we'll have another lap to do after this. And we're going to probably come short of the rain. So we've got a bit of working out to do. Rival, medium and hards, they're going to be primed for the wet. So we're going to come and start pushing now very quickly. Got to get some gap between the rest of the field. And that gap at the moment is a good 5.5 seconds to P1. Good 2 seconds to Sainz. So we should be able to get a nice clear pit stop in. We're going to boost onto medium. And that should be spot on there as George Russell then comes in to the pits nice and quickly. Carlos Sainz follows him in. And he is already back out, George Russell. And we're going to just conserve there. So we're going to be matching the rivals' strategy. We're behind at the moment. But that hex will be able to let us run dry tyres in the wet that little bit stronger than everybody else. So looking at doing a 2-2-2-2 here at the moment. With Russell now going to put the burners on. Carlos Sainz we're going to leave out. Depends how quick this rain comes in. Remember, Miami, speed track. It's what you want round here. Speed, overtaking. And we'll come back in for some wets then with Russell. Carlos Sainz then. It's only 40 seconds though. Only 40 seconds. So we're actually going to come back out on some softs. It's only a short weather spell. And the rival should go to wets. They do. A lot of people now go into wets. But don't need it. I think we're going to take some pain. And we're going to hold out on some softs. We've got a big enough gap. As George Russell comes in. We could have gone wets, but it would literally be for one lap. And out we go. We've got a nice gap to the rival anyway. So we're going to boost these. We're going to help them on their way. And it's about to start getting sunny, which means it will dry very quickly. You can see the dry coming down already. Everyone's going to go to wet tyres, most likely. And we're going to be starting to lap the field in no time. George Russell, Carlos Sainz out in the lead in their first race. You can see Sainz with that hex in the wet, closing on George Russell. And we're going to cut down because we need to create a bit of a gap as we come back over the line. Need about 2.5 seconds, and we've already got that, to be fair. So let's pit, let's push both drivers, and we now start lapping that field. Look at Russell go on that dead fast, taking about 10 cars on the straight. And we're coming round, and then into the pits we will go. Gap at 2 seconds. So we'll just manage it. Nice medium boost just at the end here. And Russell is in. Slow pit stop here in terms of entry and exit. But it also helps when you don't double stack, and we don't there. And back out. Rest of the field, mixed of wet and hard tyres. But we're going to just keep pushing round. And we should be able to see this over the line. Russell comes through to lap P14. And looking very good now. Alonso will get out of the way. Well, he nearly did. Didn't in the end. And all the wet tyres are now struggling around. So we're going to lap over P7, who's coming out of the pits, George Russell. Carlos Sainz got to conserve, and so will George Russell shortly. Still people out there on the wets, including the opponent, Carlos Sainz. So let's cut down Russell there. We'll give Sainz a little kick. But it's going to be a nice, easy run for qualifying in the very first race. It could get a lot more difficult, but we've done what we need to do for now. George Russell will come across the line and he will win the Miami GP. Carlos Sainz will follow home in second to claim a 1-2 for AZW F1. Race number 2 of the Easter event. And can we go on an egg hunt and get another 47? It's rain in Singapore. It's also purple. It's dark. And it's going to be treacherous. But let's see if we can pull another one out the back. George Russell starts from pole, and I must say, predicting this. I was all set up for a wet weather race. Sadly, not going to be the case. So Taurus and Eagle will go on to our 2 drivers, Carlos Sainz in P4, George Russell in P1. Real player or not, doesn't look like it, because we have hard tyres selected by the rival. Now with the boost launch start, makes light work of the rival, and we are up to P1 and P2. That is groovy racing, as we're into P1 and P2. Now we're going to leave George Russell running, obviously, because he needs the car to go somewhere. But we're going to leave him pushing and do 3 laps, come in and conserve to the end. We've got the fuel in case a safety car does come out, so I'm not too fussed about that. And it is going to be a case of managing. Now, P3 and P4 are on softs. They're only going to be doing 3 laps in this GP, coming in and probably going on medium or hards. So we'll use Sainz like a little roadblock. And at the minute, he's doing a pretty good job. Russell, obviously Taurus gives me cornering, it gives me fuel. Eagle gives me grip and tyres to be able to push for a good 3.5 laps on a soft. And it's all looking pretty good at the moment. We'll get ready to pit in case a safety car comes out. Doesn't look like it at the moment, as George Russell comes through to start lap number 3, and he'll come in to the pits. Sainz keeping Russell behind, being on conserve with that grip, helping us stay ahead quite comfortably, as we've got about a half a lap until we start pushing. Let's move on to medium boost. Russell's got a good 11, nearly 12 second gap now. And we've got plenty of fuel available to us. Sainz coming round across the purple bridge to start his push. So he'll push from here. Russell will just conserve as long as he can now until we can release him again. And you can see that gap now down to at least 13 seconds at the moment. That might change though as we come across the line, down to 7.7 seconds. All the rivals pit, as I said, soft tyres can only go 3 laps unless you've got a boost. So that's why they are in. That gap now reducing 5.5 seconds. And Eagle is going to be motoring here. And Russell's got enough fuel to be able to just cruise to the end. Carlos Sainz will be wanting to take that victory, and he should do in this race based on the strategy we're following. As Russell comes through to start lap number 5. Carlos Sainz, decent pit stop, 3.8 seconds. Will be coming back out, and he should be past Russell fairly quickly, we say. Because Russell is now in back markers. So we keep going round. Sainz can taste a victory, and George Russell will be asking me questions about the strategy choice when he comes back after the race is finished. But Russell getting very held up by back markers now. Old K-Mag giving us some right pain. We can't even get past K-Mag, and here comes Sainz in the background. We go through Stroll. And on to lap 6. Here's Sainz though on that Eagle in grip, showing just how good it is. And look how much he's closed on at the back of Russell. And we'll swap these two round now. No need to do any silly business. And we will have just over a lap to go to bring home another 47 points to send us on our way to the final 2 races. Remember, guys and girls, if you're watching, the links are in the description. You can become a channel member and you can join our Discord server as well. So do drop on the links and do check them out. So, last lap we go. George Russell, Carlos Sainz to bring it home. And this time in the opposite order to what it was before. And Sainz coming up to lap Max Verstappen. I'm sure he'll take a lot of pride from doing so. But another race. Looks like we have survived the night sky, the darkness and the gloom of the purple Singapore. And as a W, and Sainz comes home to complete first place. And George Russell not too far behind, taking P number 2 for a solid 47 points. Race 3 from the notoriously difficult Australia, and we've got a matchup which is a max account, so it's a level team score to ourselves. And let's see if we can get through successfully. Where do we start? We start P1 and P4 for Carlos Sainz. Going to go on to the mediums, so we're going to go downforce and some Taurus. Real player or not, we're about to find out. So, we're boosted up, we're ready to get racing, we're ready to see them lights go out. Medium and hards by the rival, that looks like a bot again for us. So far so good in qualifying. Can Carlos Sainz get through the middle? He can, and he is through into P2. Brilliant start by both drivers. We're going to make sure we cancel that pit and boost the driver up until the end of what will be sector 2. So Russell comes round and we will cut down. Sainz, we will also cut down. Now the plan here is basically grip and cornering are the best round Melbourne. We'd do a 4-4 with George Russell and a 5-3 with Carlos Sainz, but just in case of safety cars, and we've got a decent lead over a bot, we might just merge it to a 4-4 and be absolutely fine. So let's just see how it goes. Remember, it's all about reacting and changing your strategy. It's all good knowing what you want to do, but sometimes you've got to change it to something else. So we're going to carry on over Science now getting closer by George Russell behind us. And we're going to move him up then to medium boost. Russell, we've started to boost. We're going to build that gap. And we've got Science still holding up that George Russell, who's continuing to push. But we're all looking pretty good at the moment. We only need 40%. And George Russell coming round. Any sign of a safety car? No. So we're going to then avoid the safety car. We're going to pit Russell. We're going to pit Science and basically match off. There's no point doing 5 laps here. We're going to accelerate away from P3 and P4. Russell's got a massive gap. We're all good there. Science not a massive gap, but it is certainly going to be growing. As we come through to the last sector. Russell is in. Nice pit stop needed. Science now in as well. Comes in for the mediums. Russell on his way. We hopefully will get ahead of the hard tyre. That would be a bonus for us. And we do. We are in to P2. So we're just going to look after tyres here. We don't need to look. We can do 4 laps with Science. And we can do pretty much 4 laps with Russell full boost. But we're going to just protect. Because if a safety car comes, I want all the fuel and tyres. As that rival goes massively wide. Team orders playing an effect. So we start lap number 6 from George. No sign of a safety car then, which is brilliant. Still one more chance that we get one. You never know. We're going to start the boost very shortly with George. And in fact, we will do that now. So we're going to start boosting both. Remember, this time round, we didn't have a start that we boosted from. So we have more tyres than the first stint. And Russell coming round. Nice and easy. No safety car again. No, all good on the safety car front. So we're free to race to the finish. And the reason I go on about safety cars is I've always got the chance of bringing Carlos Sainz in P2 because the gap's so big. But we've got 1.5 laps to go. It will be 3 out of 3 on the 47-point run if we can continue this through. We've put some big distance now between P3 and the other rival in P6. So it's looking very neat and tidy. Russell, can he get rid of the drama that had the real F1 race through here? And he does. Sainz approaching that part now. Not going to do a Charles Leclerc and go off into the gravel. He is going to, though, go up the inside of Alonso. Sainz is pretty much closing that gap, down to 5 seconds. And George Russell is going to pick up another win here in Australia. So a nice, easy race 3 for George and the team. And Carlos Sainz will complete the front 2 positions with a lockout. It's P1 and P2. So we have Brazil, Sao Paulo for the last race of the qualifying round. Looks like a good matchup, so we hopefully get safely through for race number 4. And we are P1, P3. Could still be a real player, so we're still going to have to watch out. So we're going to go Taurus, I'm going to use. And it looks like it is a bot, so I'm definitely going to use Taurus, just in case, safety car, that kind of stuff. Hard and medium selected for the rival, so we're going to get a big boost off the start. Should get both of these drivers running away P1, P2. And here comes Sainz, launches through, and we are now in to P1 and P2. We're going to leave running for about maybe a quarter, half a lap. And then we're going to cut down bottom of this hairpin. So we settle in, nice early gap to P3 on the mediums. So we're always going to be just creeping out a little bit for the gap with them. And hopefully we can just keep that up. Soft tyres all good on Sainz. Mediums will come back for later on with Russell. And it's all looking pretty good as can be. So Russell comes round. Let's hit him with a bit of fun and a fastest lap, shall we? just to see what lap we do, even though we're not running a fastest lap setup, as we start lap number 3. We'll create the gap nice and wide. As Russell comes around, we'll just check if at any slow moving cars. Can't see any slow moving cars right now, so all good. Russell does a lap and we'll be coming back in for the mediums. Sainz will probably conserve for another, but doesn't really need to though, so we probably will just bring him in. Back for some more softs. There is absolutely, as you know by now, no point risking it. So let's boost Sainz and we'll create that little bit of gap. It's only 3 seconds, but we're only going to have a couple of medium tyre runners ahead. And Sainz comes in. Remember, this track, very good on speed and overtaking. Taurus is there for tyre management and a bit of fuel. As Russell comes out in P1, Carlos Sainz is going to drop in behind Carlos Sainz, who follows Carlos Sainz. And Carlos Sainz tries to get past Carlos Sainz, who then gets through and now faces Carlos Sainz. Can Carlos Sainz get past Carlos Sainz? You get the picture. If F1 had to properly commentate on these races, I think they would get past and get fed up with the amount of Carlos Sainz's on this racetrack. But we're in P1 and P2. I'll try not to use his name again because we absolutely battered it for fun there. But P1 and P2, and we're going to look like to set a perfect qualifying session. Russell, 2 laps to go. Moves nicely clear. Sainz chasing down on them softs. And interestingly, looks like we could probably do 4 laps on the soft, full sprint with Sainz. He's trying to catch up George Russell. And that gap's coming down a couple of tenths every corner. Gone back up again because of back markers. And Russell over the line to start the last lap. Carlos Sainz here in P2. And he can definitely do 4 laps of full running on them softs. Just a shame the back markers are absolutely being a pain, because look at that. George Russell extending out now to 8.5 seconds. But George Russell is going to come home victorious. George Russell wins after lapping most of the field. And Carlos Sainz coming up the hill and across the line to finish in P2. It is a very solid 4 runs of 47 points. So let's see where that brings us in the qualifying standards. The qualifying group as the rival crosses the line in P4 and P6. So we had a little fun with the fastest lap, even though we're using our max setup. We're not going to set a really quick lap time, but let's see if it at least gives us P1 in qualifying as we come back out. Champion it is, and we are top at the moment. We did a 23.166, and that was what's give us P1 at the moment. But most importantly, we are 188 points, 4 lots of 47, and that will move us on to opening round. And if you've been watching me as of late, then opening and final round have been a bit of a disaster, but you never know. So 4 races, we are all good to go. I also want to say a massive thank you to all the channel members we've got so far. Javier, Magni, Touch Me Dilly, all with the donations and the subscribe as well. We've got Igor, Andrew, Nathaniel, Liquid Blizzard, Paul, Michael Bence, you there, MQZT, Eri Stark, Keith and A.E. Wallace. A big shout out to all of you channel members. It means the world for your support, and thank you once again. Remember, if you want to be a channel member or join the Discord server, then the link is in the description down below this video, so go and check it out.